like you said, you're not going to just keep on throwing it until you get the perfect rune. You're just looking for overall improvement, and if it's at a good place, you move on.
I am looking for a rune that I feel like it looks like a legend rune and also feels like I would still be able to change one thing on it with a gem and
Hmm.
feel good about the rune.
I can tell that this next rune here definitely meets those requirements. Are you excited about this rune or what?
Super excited.
Super
Super
excited.
excited.
This is it. What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with the next episode of Educate and Dominate, the one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names of the game and get their insights so we can bring your game to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has been so long since we've been able to do an Educate and Dominate video, but I'm super excited to get this one in because this person truly has been an inspiration to me with a lot of different PvE comps that I've been bringing in. We're going to be talking about something fresh today. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Zeomi from the Guild Fury. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Childish, how's it going?
That's going pretty good, man. I'm excited as everybody right now because today we get to reveal the Z. We get to reveal Zeomi here. He finally gets to showcase that face cam. Today is a good day, my man.
It is, but like all good things, I'm realizing what I should have done is put like a little curtain here while you do your intro,
Yeah.
and then be like, boom,
Hey,
reveal.
you should. I mean, this is something that people generally do when they hit the 1,000 subs or 10,000. Like, this is something big. Like, this is. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to be doing it myself, and I'm glad that I could be sharing this special moment with you, buddy.
For those of you
Yep.
guys that haven't had a chance to check them out, I showcased them a couple of times on my YouTube channel with a variety of things. One of the which being the Luna showcase for DB10. He's one of the first people that showcased that for the community and showing the true power of what that unit could do. Now let's fast forward to the beginning of 2019. He got a chance. If you guys didn't get a chance to check out Sean B, he recently was a guest on there talking about a unique team that he uses for every single dungeon in Kairos, right? And that video actually blew up to no end. The community really responded. Zeomi, have you had a chance to check out? Did you know it did that good?
I did because I saw him post it, and I went to sleep, and then my phone, because I hadn't turned on my mute, started blowing up because people were checking out his video and then following me, and my
Nice.
emails were coming through, and so I was like, my followers just went boop 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 boop,
It's nice, just like that, just like
just like
that.
that.
Yeah, and so I mean, obviously, I was a big fan of the video. I'm so glad you got a chance to do that with him. And but when I saw that, dude, I was like, oh man, like we got to bring him for his next big topic to talk about today. We're going to be talking about those re-app stones and basically your method of trying to get max value because there's a very nice method to it, and I'm really excited to showcase that to the community. So before we jump into your method, though, let me know what you have been doing as your original method and tell me why did you decide to make a change?
Sure. So my original method was honestly just following my heart and picking the things that I thought would be fun and or helpful. Like I was getting really pigeonholed into the, oh, I need to make the best, let's call it Theomars. But I remember that when I started with reapps, I'm like, this is a great way to really surgically fix monsters. And so for quite a while, that's what I was doing. And you know, people who are better at this game than me or who have more experience or more common sense were like, yo, dude, like you could do that, but you're not being as efficient as possible. You need
Mm-hmm.
to start looking at like using your 2, 4, and 6 and prioritizing that. And I'll be honest, I like ignored them for a while. I still continue to do 1, 3, 5s and 2, 4, 6 just as I needed, just kind of spot welding things. And at some point, I was talking to a buddy of mine, um, and he was just kind of talking about his rune quality for his Perna.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy has like an absolutely freaking disgusting Perna. But we were talking about how he got to it, and he's like, yeah, I'm just doing like the innate thing, and I'm trying to just focus on a single rune, but I'm burning a lot of reapps when I
Right.
do that. And it dawned on me when I watch people do reapp videos, because I like to watch them myself. Like I think it's fun seeing people, go for it.
Right.
But I was seeing people just like burn those reapps, and it dawned on me why.
Right.
Because one of the things that I've always said in this game is your runes, you shouldn't be so focused when you're farming for runes to just say, oh, I didn't get a perfect slot 2, even though it's legendary, therefore it's garbage. I'm going to throw it away, or I'm going to automatically re-app it because maybe it rolled high res. Like, let's call it a speed rune. And
Right.
let's say it just rolled really high res and had a medium defense percent on it and like a flat defense and, I don't know, a crit rate. And people are like, that's a Garbo rune. Like, of course I would want to re-up that. And I would always tell people, no, you don't. Runes like that actually have use. You just have to expand the monsters that you're like. If you focus on one single monster, you lose a lot of the potential value there of runes like that. So similar with the re-apps, I realized I was wasting a lot of potential value because I was trying to focus on one thing.
Right. Right. And that's kind of crazy because I can relate to that myself. I was too focused on trying to get the perfect rune. I wasn't really too much thinking about the unit, but trying to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that the rune was perfect in every sense of the word. But funny enough, one of the things that we got a chance to talk with on the side is that it's not really just about the perfect stats in and of itself, but overall the efficiency. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how people can maybe take a look at a rune and try to figure out where they can get that efficiency from?
If you take a look at this rune is on my Varad, and I can tell you just by looking at it that it's going to be a blue rune. And so when you think about runes, the best potential efficiency from a rune can only come from legend runes. And the reason for that is you get 4 rolls into the stats there.
Right.
With a blue rune like this, you only get rolls into the first 2 stats, and you only get one time. It can roll twice into either of them, but it limits basically the floor that this rune can get to. So like here we see that the accuracy, it got a low roll on accuracy because we assumed that it was a max roll to begin with, and the HP, you'd have to look in the enchant section, but odds are pretty good that that is mid to high roll. It looks like a mid roll on the flat
Mm-hmm.
HP. So if you go look instead on my Julianne and go look at his slot 5, I believe, I can tell you before you even go into the rune any further that this one is going to be a legendary rune. Now this is kind of easy because if we look at the speed, we can see that speed had to be at least, let's see, the min would be an 8. No, the min would have to be 10 on it
Right.
because to be at plus 15, can max get a plus 5 roll. So for that rune, we know that this one is legend. If you go to
Right.
the enchant here, you can see that, yes, this confirms that it is legend. Crit damage has a max roll of 7, so this is 1 off from crit damage being max. The HP percent here is 1 off from being max HP. The attack percent is 3% off from being max attack percent, and the speed is only 1 off from being max. So this rune is already extremely efficient. And the kicker on it is the fact that it has an innate stat. And innate stats are going to be really important to what we're talking about today. But that innate stat, that's free stats on your units. So innate stats are super duper important when you're reapping, and they help your overall max level efficiency quite a bit. And not only is this an innate stat, but it's an innate stat that is also max rolled at 8%. So that
Right.
all contributes to this rune being extremely efficient.
Right. And one of the things that we got a chance to talk to about this on the side is that another kind of moment per se that you figured out when you were going through this process is even though you may have a rune that's super efficient, that doesn't necessarily mean usable. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So when you look at a rune, there are all sorts of stats, right?
Right. Right.
And there are some runes that, even though it might technically be super efficient, the actual stats that are on there don't synergize well. So, and it's tough because I think people often pigeonhole runes, like I had mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and they think that a rune has to hit very specific parameters to work for a wide variety of monsters, but really there are so many monsters in this game that there are a lot of really solid runes out there. You just have to find the right monster for them. Like, I'm trying to think about a rune that would be highly efficient, but not necessarily a very good rune. Like if you had something that maybe had super high crit damage, let's say it max rolled on all crit damage, and then
Like no crit rate maybe on it.
no crit rate, had like a flat HP and a flat defense.
Right.
It could still be an efficient rune, but it's not a rune that really works well because you can only get rid of one of those stats, and it's still going to be kind of languishing behind.
Gotcha. And in addition to that usable aspect here, one of the things that you were talking about earlier, as far as like the big mistakes that people do, pigeonholing and focusing on a specific rune. What are some of the other common mistakes that you generally see when you talk to your followers on Twitch or whatnot? What are some of the things that they constantly do when they're trying to work through this re-app process?
People get really hung up with all of that. Are speed runes. Everybody thinks
yeah.
speed is king, and you want to just keep going because you don't have perfect stats, or you just want to get like that super high speed. But like super high speed without other stats means that you're just leaving things on the table. So
Mm-hmm.
it's tough. It's a balancing act. Like
Gotcha.
right now, my Jean, like a 84% efficiency. It's great. It's 26 speed. I need to get rid of the crit rate on it, and I need an innate stat on it. Like it's just not as good as it could be.
Right. Like anybody would dream of that that's watching this right now, but you're like, no, it's not good enough. It needs to be better.
Well, and that's the thing, is you get further into the game, there's this need to get better and better.
Of course,
And
of
so we
course.
talked about like, how did I come up with, or why did I come up with this method? It's to stop me from looking at that rune and being like, well, I got to re-app it because it's not quite perfect. Because
Right.
that's still a really good usable rune.
That's
There's
very
nothing wrong with that rune. It's
right.
not like an OP rune. I mean, depends on where you are in the game, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
like, it's still pretty damn usable.
Right.
So the method is to help take away some of the emotion of like, oh, I just got to fix that thing. I just got to fix that
Right.
thing, and help extract it to a layer of, you know what? I've got a bunch of runes that could be really awesome, and they're not great right now. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to up the level of a bunch of runes and then see where I can fit them in
Gotcha.
to my monsters overall. And it basically lets me get away from pigeonholing myself, and honestly, I feel like I touch more runes during re-app time than other people do.
Gotcha.
And I think overall lifts all of my monster box faster than just lifting one specific monster.
This is the infamous spreadsheet that I've been talking with you about quite a bit here. Why don't you kind of break this down? Why you even got involved with the spreadsheet and how it's been able to help you out with this re-app process?
Sure. So the breakdown's super, I think, straightforward. All I did is in the Summoner's War tool.swap, I was able to sort all of my runes by type. So basically, I chose whatever type of runes that I wanted to re-app. On this particular tab, you're looking at Vio Will Revenge, and I
Okay.
had some reasons for throwing Revenge in there. And then if you look at the bottom tabs, I've got 13 re-apps. That's also going to be a Vio Will Revenge. To the right of that, I have Swift re-apps. That's when I decided to do some Swift re-apping. And then at the last, it's going to be 20 re-apps, and these are actually all violent, so I'm just going to mark that on my sheet.
Gotcha.
But so I select within the tool what rune class that I want to re-app. I make sure that I pick only legend runes because those are all that I care about. You should, that's a trap too. Especially if you're new and you're super hungry to get stats on your runes, save them for legend runes.
Right.
Please don't re-app a blue rune
Right.
or a purple rune. You'll make everybody sad.
You'll make
But
everybody
mostly
cringe.
Yeah.
Cringe as much as the people that plus 15 a 2-star rune in the chat.
Oh, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy or girl.
Or girl. Yeah, don't be
Or
that
girl.
person. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
Because the thing about re-apps is it's not possible anymore to trick the system into getting a rune to jump from an unknown status up to, a legend. That is a thing that used to exist in Summoner's War, and I believe Foi had a video on YouTube talking about it way back when, but you can't do that anymore. The game now knows what the level of a rune is when you get it, so like only re-app legend runes, because if you re-app a legend rune, it might re-app totally terribly. It might look like a blue rune after the reapp, but the
Mm-hmm.
game remembers it's a legend rune. And so
Right.
every time that you reapp it, you still have the ability to get a new legend rune.
Right. 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 Yeah. If the rolls just go so poorly, it could just it just basically just looks too bad. I guess it's like, oh, like you lost it, but you just got to re-roll it again. Okay.
Yep, yep.
Now let me get into this next one here because I know you kind of highlighted right when we got talking here. You know, you're talking about the ones that you're focusing on, of course, the innate part, but the vile, the will, and the revenge. Now, you know, I think this is 3 out of the 5 rune sets in the game that actually have some kind of a mechanic versus just raw stats here. Is that pretty much the big thing about that, like what it provides, or is there something else on the side?
No, you pretty much nailed it right on the head.
Okay.
With revenge, it's mostly I mean, there are some monsters out there. Formerly Jean, definitely Vertihile, who's super meta right now for
Mm-hmm.
RTA, who really want the revenge set. So when I was doing a push for trying to get some RTA stuff fixed, that's why I tossed revenge in. But like now, my priorities have shifted, and that's why with the reapps that we're going to do today, it's all going to be violent focused.
Gotcha. I'm excited. I'm excited. And then getting back to the spreadsheet one more time here. So did you when you first got this all set up? Did you put all the numbers, or were you able to pull that file from the swap
Oh
form?
yeah, sorry, I didn't really talk about that fully. I kind of went off on a tangent. Refocus here for you guys. So all I do, go into the tool. The tool is at tool.swop.1. It is an amazing tool. I go into the Summoner's War tool thing. I click on the rune icon, which looks like a violent rune, and then I select under set violent,
All
and
right.
then I also move stars, and I move the slider from the left all the way up to 6-star. That way it's only capturing 6-star stars. And then under where it says quality, which is a row to the right of you, or
This
a
one.
column to the right. Yep. And then go ahead and select legend.
Oh,
And
very
so
nice.
right now, we are looking at all of your legend runes that are violent.
Oh, it's so sad. It's only one page. Oh no, no, no. It's okay. It's cut off here. 33 entries. 30, I was sitting there like I only got 10. Oh, that's embarrassing. Fail.
Hey
Like, yeah.
man, you got to start somewhere, right?
I gotta start somewhere. You're right. You're right. So yeah. All right. So you get this, and then
And then,
um,
sorry, one more thing that I do on this page.
okay.
So to the left of your mouse, there is a place where you can do show X entries, and I go from 10 and I do all.
Right.
And
All
then
the
you highlighted something that I probably should do, which there's an export at CSV, but I don't do that.
okay.
Instead, I just manually grab them. So if you put your mouse over the first ID number
Mm-hmm.
and then left click and hold the left button down and then just drag all the way to the bottom of the page,
Oh, okay.
you'll select it all like that. And I just literally go all the way to the bottom. I copy and I paste it into the spreadsheet that we were looking
Oh,
at.
yeah. That's pretty straightforward. That'll work.
Yeah, you know, the exported CSV or as CSV thing might work. I've never tried it before because I never noticed the button, which is
Right.
a fail on my part.
We both have fails. It's okay.
But if you do data and then you go to sort range, and I have data rows by headers, the thing that I want to sort by is efficiency percent max.
Well, 70%, 75, so it's going downward, not
Yep.
up.
Oh, I bet you because I copied the layout from a previous one, it just applied it previously, so it was already in that. But you do need to take that step, and the reason is because I'm targeting my lowest efficiency percent
Oh,
runes.
yeah. Okay, so you got that on the top. That makes sense.
And the reason that I do it by efficiency percent max is it means that if I have forgotten to plus 12 a rune, that I now know what the maximum threshold that it could potentially be. And so,
Okay.
like, if I see something like 70% efficiency percent max, I can think to myself, you know, maybe that's one that I am going to go ahead and swap over.
So if I recall correctly, the first one that we were looking at is going to be on Shao, right? Or was no? That's actually in the inventory. Slot 2.
Well, so here's where it gets a little tricky.
Oh
And
man.
this is like, I could streamline this more, and I would recommend for folks that, well, so I personally believe that to get to the best stats for your monsters, you need to work with things that when we looked at my violent legend runes, that is not just showcasing violent with innate. There are violent that don't have innate because there are times where I do want to reap a legendary violent rune that does not have innate.
Okay.
Particularly if it's like a slot 4 or 6 HP percent, I have so few of those that I feel like it's worthwhile for me to re-roll them. But there are many like 135s that don't have innate. I do not re-up those anymore. If they don't roll well, then I farm enough that I say, okay, I'll wait till I get another one.
Gotcha. And here's another random question that I have for you here. I
Sure.
know that a lot of the runes, we're focused on all the stats, trying to make it efficient, but the biggest stat, without question, is going to be speed here. What's your thought about reapping slot twos, innate or not? I mean, would you make an argument to do it, or is it one of those things where you're just like, I'll focus on some of the other runes there?
So a thing that people don't realize, I think, oftentimes if they're in beginning or mid game, slot 2 on speed is not king, which I know sounds weird, but it's
Right.
true. If you can get away with doing an attack percent, you can get away with doing HP percent or defense percent, you actually get better value
Right.
on your monster for key stats by doing that and getting the speed on other runes.
Right.
So a slot 2 speed is not a bad rune. There are many, many uses for it, and people love them. And I mean, I use them all the time. But
Right.
on some level, they're just not as strong as getting like an attack HP or defense percent rune and re-rolling it there.
Okay.
So would I re-roll it? Yes, because sometimes I need those stats. Like, I mean, not all of my violent runes have, 20 speed or more on slot 135 or 4 and 6. So sometimes to get my monsters the stats I need, I have to go ahead and put slot 2 speed. But if I can get away with not doing that, much better, much better.
Right. All right then. So, which rune would you like to start out with then?
This rune is a sad rune.
Right.
Like, well, so if you look at the speed on it, that is a low speed roll
Mm-hmm.
into a medium to low initial speed.
Right.
Accuracy is low, and then you have double rolls into flat HP. Oh, and crit damage for funsies. Like,
Right. Throw it in there.
it makes no sense as a rune, but it has a lot of potential because resist at 8%, that's great. And it
Right.
means that we won't get resistance in the other rolls. So
Correct.
this rune, a lot of high potential to it, but right now it's at 75%. So we're going to go ahead and re-app it.
Okay. And so when we're getting into this, I mean, you're, like you said, you're not going to just keep on throwing it until you get the perfect rune. You're just looking for overall improvement, and if it's at a good place, you move on.
I am looking for a rune that I feel like it looks like a legend rune and also feels like I would still be able to change one thing on it with a gem and feel good about the rune.
I can tell that this next rune here definitely meets those requirements. Are you excited about this rune or what?
Super excited.
Super excited. This is it.
No, that is definitely not it. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
All right, let's try again.
The other thing that I try to limit myself to is to just put a few re-apps into a rune and then move on to another one.
Okay.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I'm sorry, boss.
That's all right. We can go ahead and do another re-app.
Okay. Which one do you want to do now?
No. We can do one more
one
stone
more?
into this one. I just generally do anywhere between 2 to 4 into them. So before you go ahead and select either, like, let me just go through what I quickly look at here. Crit damage, we can see that if we know that crit damage is a max roll of 7, which also means its starting roll is 7, that means that we're 1% off from there, so that's good.
Right.
Attack percent, we know is a max roll of 8, and it looks like, even if we don't look at the bottom 2 stats, if we just look at that stat in isolation, we know that that's either 2 or 3 rolls into attack percent. If it's 2 rolls into attack percent, we know that it's 3% off of being top tier. Cool. So we'll say maybe. Then we go down. HP percent is 6%. Okay, that's not the best. Let's find out if the last stat is good. In this case, the last stat is flat HP. 652 means that there is an extra roll into flat HP. I mean, it's an improvement.
Right. I think
You
it's a
should,
little bit more efficient. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely more efficient, but it's not like amazing. And I probably will still re-app it in the future, but that's the key right there. It's in the future. So go ahead and we'll select the one on the right.
All right.
And the key stat that you want to remember here is attack percent, attack 21%. Now we'll go back over to the spreadsheet. So what I do is I mark the percentage of like the key stat that I'm going to be able to find quickly when I look for this rune again. Because right now, I don't know how well it actually has rolled. I can't tell you, oh, this rune improved by X value. But what I can do is now go to our efficiency percent max, and I can insert a column. And what I will do here is new efficiency. And I know this rune is one that I need to look at. So all I have to do is do this. And the next time I do an import of runes, I'll just look up this rune by ID. Once I've looked up its ID, then I will know what this rune changed to. I can see how much efficiency did I gain on it. So this rune, even before you roll it, it at its most perfect can be 87%, which 87% is not bad. However, all it needs is a roll into flat HP to mess that up. If it gets any low rolls, which it already did, I think that started as a low, but it's just a rune that it can't go super far.
Gotcha. And how do you figure like at max it could be 87%? Like what the term is that? Just because of the min starting stats there?
So thankfully I don't have to do the math anymore. The tool does it all for me. That's why I sort by efficiency percent max. It tells me what a rune would be if it were to roll all perfectly.
Oh, okay,
What is
okay.
the best that it could possibly be?
Yeah, that's pretty
And
nice.
so when I look at a rune like this, I was able to tell you where it could go wrong really easily, and then I know for a fact it's not going to be above my 85% threshold.
Gotcha.
And I mean, look at these rolls. This is not a good rune.
Right.
But let's pretend we hadn't actually powered this up and we just came back to this rune. It looks like a purple rune,
Right.
like a purple plus, because HP percent is just a little bit above a single roll into it. So not great. Not great. High candidate for rerolling. We'll do 3 into this one.
3 into this one. Let's see what we get. I don't know why, but I'm feeling lucky on this one. Okay.
Okay.
I'm feeling lucky on this one.
Ooh. I mean, that's better.
That's better.
For sure better. The question is, would I want to put speed into the flat HP? So the way I look at that, resistance, we're 2% off there. HP percent, we are 5% off there. And crit rate, we got it perfect. So it's not like an, oh my god, this rune is amazing, but this is a perfect reason of why I use my spreadsheet.
Right.
Because this is good enough until I can go check it and actually verify what its efficiency is now. And look at my runes on my monsters and see, do I have a place that I can slot this in nicely? So for now, this one we will keep, and we will not put any more reapps into it.
Good deal.
And that's why I say that I've been able to touch so many more runes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at some point, I'm just willing to say, that's good enough for now. And if I find, like, let's say I do re-review it, and I'm like, this rune it doesn't synergize well. I can't see myself putting speed into it. Once I actually take the time to think about it, okay, then it can go back on the reapp block. But for now, it'll sit, and we will just keep moving on.
Sounds good. So I did have a couple more questions to ask you.
Sure.
Just kind of random, with regards to this game, whatnot here. Reapping, obviously, for free-to-play versus pay-to-play, it's a completely different ballgame. Free-to-play players are only going to be getting 3 reapps a week in addition to whatever events we got going on, versus the pay-to-play players, they can get quite a handful of them, every single month. Now, in your personal opinion, do you feel like 3 reapps a week is good enough, or is there, too much content in the game to force a player to farm for mats, for 5 pieces a week? Or, I mean, I like 5 pieces a week, but I don't know if that's good. What do you think?
I think 3 pieces a week is fine. because of how powerful reapps are, I think if they were to tweak it in any way, they should do the thing that would be bad for their wallets and not let us buy so many reapps.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from a farming perspective, 3 is good because, like you mentioned, there are so many things in the game that you could be doing, but the fact that people can go buy 50 reapps every month, it widens that gap way too much.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. And so let's take away the whole thought process of like reapps and just talk about the game in general. I mean, it's been 4 years now, and you, alongside with me, we've been playing the game since ancient times, right? What do
For
you feel
sure.
about the current state of the game right now, just as a whole?
I'm pretty pleased with the game right now. The fact that that last balance patch that we got nerfed so many of the really big units or augmented how we play the game added a lot of variety into it. And I mean, sure, we're settling on a new meta now, so the question becomes, what do they do with the next balance patch? Are they going to do like a tiny balance patch that doesn't matter, or are they going to actually give us something substantial? I think that if they're willing to do big things that force us to build new monsters or come up with new ways to solve our problems, then that's a good thing for the game.
Mm-hmm.
But if they say, you know what, this is our meta, this is what it's going to be, we're not going to make any big changes to monsters because people were afraid of upsetting users, like, then the game just gets stale and boring.
Right, right. And that's it's funny that you mentioned in regards to like the whole that big monster battle pass. That was something that basically the community's been waiting for a long time. We never thought it was going to come around, and it did, and
Yeah.
it literally shocked everybody. It shocked the world. So I'm glad to see them kind of going in that direction. And I know that some people are going to be upset because they have certain monsters that get nerfed, or maybe others that haven't gotten buffed yet. But to have like a drastic change like that, I'm really excited about it, especially for those people that are really, very competitive in PvP. I'm looking to see what kind of different metas may, evolve over time with these recent changes here. So now we've seen a lot of changes come into play, but there's still a couple of things that we've been asking about that maybe not have come around. So, in your humble opinion, um, if there is something that you would like to change, if there's one thing you would like to change, what would that be and why?
I think that it is, and I mean, I'm going to join a million people saying this, but I think that it is too hard to get Devilmon in the game. There are too many monsters that need those Devilmon to be effective. And so, whether that is introducing a 4-star Devilmon,
Mm-hmm.
whether that is once a month giving us a way to get like a super Devilmon that just devils up a monster completely
Mm-hmm.
or max skills them,
Yeah.
like something in that system. I get it. The reason that they constrain that resource is because then we're like, oh, we got to spend money for people who spend. And it really helps push people who don't spend to really consider it because they can see how much stronger things get. But it also, because they're so constrained, it makes it really hard for people to try out new monsters, right?
Right.
Like, one of the things that I get asked all the time is, are the twins useful if they're not max skilled?
Sure.
And thankfully, with the twins, lots of folks didn't devil them right away. We all went through some level of like building them up and trying because they were so strong out the gate that
Mm-hmm.
people were willing to invest that time and try. But there are tons of monsters. Like, let's look at the Dryad family, right? Like, everybody basically says that the Dryads are mostly garbage, even though on paper, like, the water one looked like it would be pretty good with having that Oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we can't devil them easily.
Right.
Like, and maybe they are truly garbage. And the same is probably true for, like, the Wind MK. But if we can't devil and see what their full potential is, or if we can't have an easy way to skill them up and see what their full potential is, like, how are we going to adopt it and
Mm-hmm.
use it? You got to find somebody who's willing to be like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to put those devil in it and prove it out. And that, I don't know, the game would be much, I think, more interesting if we could have those skill ups come even just, let's call it 20% more easily.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and do this video. I know it's been such a long time since we finally got a chance to connect, but we did it, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, super happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's, do you have any shout outs that you want to give out to the community?
If I'm going to give a shout out, the number one shout out that I can give is to the Fury family. Both Fury and Fury 2 are fantastic guilds, great people in both of them. And I mean, I'm kind of spoiled, right? Like, I've only existed in the Fury family since it began. I've
Right.
never gone to any other guild, but like, it's always been a fantastic community. There have always been people who've been willing to talk, to help teach each other, to help learn from one another. And like, if you guys are looking for a home, feel free to reach out. Cognix online, Cognix, great guy that you can reach out to, and he'll help get you sorted out for if there's room and which guild might be a good guild for you to join if we do have space.
Gotcha. And then with regards to call-outs, is there anybody that you've maybe caught on, maybe a thread or maybe like a video or whatnot, or anybody that you think that would provide some information on the specific topic that you think would be valuable to the community?
The one that I would really, really like to see, I would really like to see Barian back
I
on
know,
the stream.
right?
I mean, I am just so curious where that guy is these days with the game,
Right.
how he thinks about things. His box, I mean, it doesn't matter how it's crazy,
Right.
crazy deep in ruins.
Right.
And the way he thinks about the game, I believe he's an engineer, is just fantastic. So
Right.
I would love to see him on again,
Right.
hear what his thoughts and where, what he's up to, what he thinks is the next big thing. Because he's the guy who inspired me to do speed runs.
Mhm.
I got to the lunar runs because I was watching him post speed clears of D10, and I'm like,
Right.
I want to do that.
Right. I think, truthfully, he inspired us all. I mean, there were so many units out there that no one would even thought of mentioning that they quote unquote looked like trash, and then he would test them out. He would build them. The Spectres, the Orions. I still remember when Orion was not even unheard of, and then Mary, busted out on the stream and showed people, when you get that skill 3 maxed out, he could turn some heads when it comes to RNG.
And that goes again to our point of like being able to skill up those 4-star
yeah,
units.
there you go. Comp to us if you're listening. We're putting it out there, man. You gotta give us that Devilmon, man. Give us the 4-star Devilmon pack. That's gonna be it, guys. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy this video in any way, shape, or form, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care.